Hello and welcome to my 5-minute real-world review of the 2010 Yamaha YFZ 450X Bill Balance Edition. This is a fuel-injected quad, and since it's the X Bill Balance version, it allegedly has a different engine tune to focus on more low-end and mid-range torque. It has 4 handlebar positions, quick-remove plastic, a redesigned seat with more padding, easier throttle, and a revised narrower front end and geometry to better fit tighter trails. If you Google this quad, you can see the detailed list of differences. I'm not wearing my glasses, so better you look it up than me. I owned a 2005 YFZ 450R before this that had been heavily modified by previous owners to the point of questionable reliability, and it had an extended swing arm and rear axle, among other things. The two machines had a lot of differences but some common characteristics. The older 450 definitely had more top end, but I'm sure it had a bit of motor work done. It's almost felt like a turbo when it hit higher revs. While not lacking in power, this YFZ has a much smoother and more predictable power delivery. I also owned first and second generation Suzuki LTZ 400s before my two YFZs. The Z400s were both a blast to own, with the second generation also being fuel injected, and they seemed fast in their own right, at least until I rode the first YFZ 450, although it is a bit of an unfair comparison. The YFZ has the YZF race bike engine, and the Z engine is based on the DRZ 400 trail bike, so different purpose and design. The Z400 is a great quad and fun and fast for trail riding. Check out my review of my 07 for more info. I have not owned any other 450 race quad, so I can't compare it to other manufacturers. I bought this primarily for trail riding, but also rode an occasional motocross track. I never have ridden in competition. Since the majority of my riding experience is based on trail riding, I'll be doing the review mostly from that perspective. The 450 is incredibly fun to ride and is definitely for the more experienced rider. It has much more power than you would ever need on an everyday trail. I rarely got out of second gear in most places, even riding fairly aggressively. The quad has enough power on reserve that I always felt like I could nail the throttle and pretty much disappear from everyone when the trail opened up, especially if I had enough room to hit third. I found myself often waiting on my other friends. Top speed is reportedly in the 70s according to a few YouTube videos I've seen. It has a fair amount of low and mid-range power, but it builds revs so quickly I wouldn't call it a thumper, nor is it supposed to be. I did a bit of technical riding, including rocks and creek crossings in West Virginia, so it is possible, but it took some effort to maneuver through. The ground clearance is decent for a race-based quad, and I only had issues in really deep mud that had been gone through previously with off-road Jeeps or side-by-sides with large tires, but it is much more at home on trails with a little more breathing room. It's an excellent hill climber, and it's a rush climbing a steep hill wide open in second gear. The fuel injection is a significant improvement over the carbureted version for having a lighter thumb throttle pressure, and it's removed the hiccup at the first part of throttle that makes everyone do the zip tie mod on the carb versions. It still doesn't really like low speed riding, but it doesn't bog or get caught off guard at low RPMs. As a lighter rider at 150 pounds, I could nail the throttle and brake traction in pretty much any gear. The fuel injection also makes cold starting a breeze and makes jetting a non-issue. I also noticed it didn't seem to run quite as hot as the older 450s are famous for. Handling-wise, the YFZ is very well balanced. I never had any issues with it trying to wheelie, even with full throttle accelerations. Its weight is distributed evenly and it really stays planted. It makes it a breeze to drift or slide around turns. Just hit the throttle and look where you want to go. The rest of the machine slides around and follows. The brakes also work great and are very responsive and easy to use and modulate. The lightweight does mean that you really feel bumps or rough terrain at speed, so be ready. And be aware while riding fast on trails is a rush, it will feel like a workout. With the quad this light, fast, and responsive, you will feel everything, especially on rougher or rocky terrain, and that uses up some extra energy. I let a few other friends ride it and they agreed. Adding a steering stabilizer may help some with that, or make sure you keep working out. I was not a big fan of the newer style T-shaped seat in trail riding and believed it to play a big part in adding to the work of riding fast. With any type of braking, the seat pushed me more to the front of the quad than I liked. I prefer to get my weight back and have light pressure on the handlebars to ride aggressively over bumpy terrain. So I spent more energy than I liked trying to stay in my preferred riding position. With the older 450's longer style seat, I never had that problem. I did not add Nerf bars, but did feel the factory foot pegs to be very large with an upward angle on the outside that made it easy to keep your boots hooked to, so no complaints there. Of course, on a motocross track, the position was perfect for standing and aggressive riding, and the YFZ felt completely dialed in and at home. If you own one, you should be required by law to get on the track at least once. You will be impressed. I understand you can squeeze quite a bit more power out of the engine with an ECU programmer, open air box, and modified exhaust. The only mod I had on this was the big gun exhaust slip-on that came when I bought it, but I didn't do anything else. Honestly, I felt like it had plenty of power and had no interest making any changes. And heads up, you have basically no mud protection on trails from the front fenders since the wheels extend well past the fenders. You will be wearing whatever you splash through. Luckily, you can ride fast enough to dry off. Overall, this quad was a lot of fun to ride and gave me no issues during ownership. Full disclosure, I did sell it in the fall of 2019 to help pay for a new truck and regretted it almost immediately. So a few weeks ago, I drove 4 hours in the new truck to buy another 05 YFZ for $1,000 from Facebook Marketplace. If it doesn't explode, I'll do a review of it. Once you get used to having that kind of power, it's your new normal and there's no going back. So if you get a chance to take a spin on a YFZ 450, I highly recommend it. Thanks for watching and happy riding.